Hey, how's everyone doing? It's Blake here from ChessPathways.com, and today's video is a bit more lighthearted. Have any of you ever had this experience where you're analyzing chess on one of the chessboards in your house, and you don't reset the board afterwards, and then maybe you come back maybe a month later, 3 months, 6 months, a year later, and you see the position again, and it kind of jogs your memory, and you start wondering, what was so important about this position that I didn't clean it up, and I wanted to preserve this position on the board. Well, this position we have in front of us is one of those positions. I was analyzing this position about a year ago, and it's stayed on one of the chessboards in my house ever since. Honestly, part of my motivation for making this video is so I can finally reset that chessboard and use it for other forms of analysis. I feel like it'd be a shame if this position sat on that board for a year, only to be wiped away for all eternity without being commemorated in a video or an analysis file or something of that nature. So, okay, we have this position. Go ahead and pause the video, think about who's better, by how much, and it's white to play here. What would you play here with white? Go ahead and take some time to think about that. Okay, if you're back with me. So I reached this position just by messing around on my chessboard. I played some random opening. I think it was actually the Owen defense with e4, b6, something of that nature. And the reason I left this position on the board for so long is that when I was analyzing this position, I was having trouble thinking about how to play here with white. And it sat on my board there for about a week, and then suddenly the idea was so obvious to me, and I didn't understand why I hadn't seen it before. So I wasn't too sure what to play with white here at first. I was looking at g4, that was kind of my first instinct. That was like the move I might have played if this was a blitz game, but even though g4 appealed to me, I also kind of had an understanding that it had to be wrong. The center's not locked enough here that you can really play g4. I was trying to calculate some lines like g4, and then what if black takes and tries to play c5. I feel like my king's pretty exposed, and I tried calculating out g5 here, but I couldn't find a convincing, attacking combination here, and I felt like this position could quickly turn around and black could be better with my exposed king. Queen b6 could be coming, all this stuff. So that was one thought I had, going back to this position. I also considered playing, an obvious move like rook b1, but I thought that's not so great, because black can easily defend this bishop, probably with queen c7, and now I have to watch out for my a-pawn after, let's say, c takes d4 later, and my a-pawn could be loose. I also thought about playing a4 myself, but I couldn't really see what I'm accomplishing there. I think playing a5, a6 seems kind of far-fetched to me. Maybe it's possible. Black's definitely not going to allow it. They're going to play a5 or a6 at some point themselves. Probably a5 right away. If I play a4, I thought they would play a5. And maybe this is an accomplishment. Maybe I could argue that this a5 pawn is weaker than my a4 pawn, because I have this bishop that could target it at some point. But there's still kind of the question of, now what? What do I do with this position? I thought about trying to just play with pieces, something like, queen f2 and then queen h4. And that could be reasonable, but I still knew black was only a couple moves away from playing c takes d4 followed by c5, and all of their pieces would stand very well. For example, queen f2 takes, c5, and I suddenly feel like black has a pretty pleasant position. So even though white's position might look good optically, I couldn't really see a clear way forward, and I knew black was only a couple moves away from solving all of their problems. So the position sat on my board for a week, wasn't sure how to handle this one. I told myself I'd get to analyzing it later, and then one day, I started looking at the move f5 when I passed the board in my house. And as soon as I saw this idea to play f5, I realized it was very strong, and I kind of wondered why I didn't see f5 before. I think every chess player has some of these kind of pre-established patterns in your head, and maybe one of mine here I was suffering from is with the knight on e5 and the pawns here on d4 and f4. For some reason, I thought those pawns were doing a great job stabilizing that knight. I was looking how to play with pieces, swing pieces around to the king side, and for some reason I was blind to the move f5. Kind of a good illustration of a typical blind spot, and how sometimes you don't even see a move until it's kind of pointed out to you, and then it becomes obvious. Well, for me, it wasn't pointed out to me. I just left the position on my board for so long that eventually I came up with the idea. But yeah, as soon as I saw f5, it seemed pretty obvious this is very good. It opens up this bishop again. Bishop g5 could be an idea. Black taking on e5 is certainly not a problem for us. We would take back, probably even play f6. That looks horrible for black. And now we're threatening to possibly take on e6, and create kind of a target here where black would have this isolated pawn on an open file. We would open up this rook. The bishop gets opened. So after I saw f5, I didn't really even have to calculate anything to convince myself it was good. All I had to do was see the move, and suddenly it was kind of obvious to me, like, oh, why didn't I see f5 before? White's just clearly better here. I actually had never checked this position with a computer until tonight, and the computer did confirm that f5 gives white a significant advantage. So, I hope you enjoyed this video. Please leave in the comments, tell me about any position that's maybe sat on your chessboard for a while, and why you thought about it for so long. Definitely, I'd be curious to see those examples. And let me know what some of your chess blind spots have been in the past, and how you overcame them. If you want more content like this, make sure you click that link down in the description to visit chesspathways.com and get signed up there. Totally free, only takes 5 seconds to join, and I will send you a free move-by-move guide to chess thinking when you sign up. Thanks, and I'll see you there.